Hello and welcome to Talk a Good Game, and what a game we have in store. It's the 10th six-pointer of the season, but this one really is crucial. If you would like to join us before the game on the boats, the link is in the description. Get your ticket. Me and Gonzo will be there with a beer in one hand, a burger in the other, and a load of dread and fear in our head. But we're away to talk about that dread and fear, or maybe confidence. But Gonzo, let's start with always talk about our opposition. What's your thoughts on the Saints?
They've swapped their manager around quite a lot. Obviously, they've got the new incumbent in Mark Hughes. They've normally done well. The thing about Southampton is they've normally been able to sell players and it's not affected them. And they've been doing so for years, usually selling most of them to Liverpool, of course. I just think they maybe have done one too many. And I know perhaps he wasn't featuring as much as he might have done since he was linked a couple of transfer windows ago, but you can't get away with constantly selling your best players and hoping to replace them with comparable quality. I possibly think the Van Dijk deal in particular may well be the final nail in the coffin for a club that just keeps on selling its best players.
Yeah, it's a club I'd like to stay up, truth be told. I quite like Southampton generally. They genuinely tend to play a decent style of football. That's why they've got rid of their last couple of managers, though, because they demanded that style of football. That's why they got rid of Puel. While he got them to the cup final and they finished in the top 8 or whatever, his football was determined to be a bit boring, and they wanted to see goals. And I admire that. I have a lot of time and respect for fans with that attitude. Mark Hughes, though, as you said, he's come in. They've only won one game in 17 Premier League games, so it's understandable why they've decided to pull the trigger. I think they've pulled the trigger at the right time. Have they got the right manager? I'm not so sure, but when there's only this many games to go, your options are very, very limited. And whoever gets a gamble, and I think they've tried to go down the safe route. I've read a couple of Southampton blogs, and they were saying like they weren't too happy when they saw Hughes' name initially, but now it's been done, it's appointed, they've come round to the idea. It's very much, it reminds me a bit of what we were like with Moyes. No one wanted Moyes, but when he got a confirmed deal, I thought, fine, he's here now, let's get on with it. You just hope for them that it's not going to be like Moyes is now. But what's your thoughts on their appointment with getting Sparky in? Is he going to spark them?
It's a funny one. It is. You say it's a safe appointment, but I'm not sure these ones are. I think it's an old appointment in the same way that ours was. It's an old school one. And he was a really good player. I mean, there'll be people watching this who don't remember Mark Hughes, a player, really, really good player. Very, very good. Strong as an ox. Had a really powerful shot. Of course, he'd be most famous for playing for Man United, but he also played for Barcelona as well. So he was a decent standard player. Very, very good. So he should know how to play football, but he is a defensive manager. And do not expect on Saturday them to really go for it. I mean, he will be saying to them, keep it quiet. Don't let West Ham score early. They're not going to be playing one at the back and 9 men going at us. That won't happen. So I just think with that in mind, it was a strange one. Bearing in mind they got rid of the other manager because they wanted better football. It's clearly what they think is a safety first approach. But I just wonder if his tactic is a bit old and worn out now, much like Moyes is. Much the same way you say, I know Everton are up in 9th. You say the same possibly about Sam Allardyce as well. When they sacked Koeman, they didn't. I think they probably expected Allardyce to do a little bit more. I just wonder if that Pulis, that whole generation have now sort of lost their way, and there's a new generation of coaches coming forward, of which Mark Hughes isn't part of.
Yeah, if I'm a neutral looking in, I don't like this appointment. It's just recycling what I call dinosaurs in the Premier League. How Stoke City, second bottom of the league, can sack their manager because they're second bottom, then third bottom of the league appoint that manager. It's just beyond me. I don't get it at all. There's no evidence that Hughes is going to be the one to keep them up because he's the one that's been propping them up. He's been underneath them all season. It doesn't make sense. But then saying that, we employed the guy that finished 20th last season, so we can't say much. You're right. They don't have, Hughes might not have much going forward, but so far this season, Southampton haven't had much going forward. Before you give me your danger men, as always, they've only scored more than once in just 6 games this season. 30 Premier League games. Only 6 of them they've scored 2 or more. But who do you consider to be the danger man or the one to watch for Southampton?
I don't know what's going on. I don't follow Southampton, obviously. I don't know what's happening at Gabbiadini. He likes to score. He looks good every time I see him play. Bearing in mind, I only see Southampton play against us. He looks good. Charlie Austin, I don't know what his fitness is. He'll have a point to prove because apparently he was meant to be finished 3 years ago. Tadic is a very good player. Redmond, what's happened to Redmond? I don't know what the score is there. Again, as I say, I don't follow them, but I do always like Ward-Prowse. I mean, all those guys could be injured or not available. I don't know, but those were the guys that I look towards really when I think of Southampton, who are also quite strong at fullback, but maybe just none of them are performing this season.
Yeah, I've always liked Ward-Prowse. He's one of them players, so I do wonder 10 years' time we're going to look back and say he's a player that never lived up to his full potential. But if Hughes is switched on and he watched our game against Swansea, he will see that we were extremely vulnerable at set pieces and in particular corners. And one thing that Ward-Prowse can do is put on a stamp at these set pieces. So if he's got a little bit about him, and he should have Ward-Prowse in there, even if it is solely for the purpose of capitalising on set pieces, it will work for Southampton against us. The one player that I have been impressed by watching Southampton this season is the guy that's been keeping Ward-Prowse out of the team. That's Højbjerg in midfield. I think he's a really, really good player. I think he's Danish. Very, very good player. I've been impressed by him. Strange team, Southampton. Some good players, but there is some players in there that you wouldn't necessarily take to West Ham, and they'll probably say the same about us, but that says it all for me. Last question on Southampton. I normally say to you, do you think they'll stay up or do you think they'll go down? But it's got to the point of the season now, Gordon, so I'm going to say, is one of us going down?
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah, and we'll just have to look at it in hindsight and be wise after the event. Ask me in the review which one of us is going down.
But before we talk about West Ham, the man in the middle, this is bad news as far as I'm concerned. It's John Moss. I hate him. He's the worst referee in the Premier League, in my opinion. I have a myth or a theory that he always gets one big decision wrong. He's given away the most penalties in the Premier League this season, which is 5. Penalty incoming at the London Stadium. West Ham have conceded the second most penalties in the Premier League this season. Penalty for Southampton incoming, maybe. I just can't stand John Moss. I hate him more than Mike Dean. But as for West Ham, Ginger and Chiati took part in training today, so they should be available for Saturday. The only one that's doubtful is Lanzini. He's got a late fitness test. He sat out of Argentina's last game, wasn't involved in training today. You have to imagine he will be risked, even if he is only half fit. But let's start at the back, Gonzo. Who would you like to see in goal, or do you care? Is it a case of they're both not in great form? Roll your dice.
I think you're right, but my choice would be Adrian because I think he's more likely to be with us next season. So we'll go with him.
Me too. I echo that. Moyes is going to keep a back three, I assume. Ogbona's going to be in there. We'll both pick Ogbonna. You've then got to pick, depends where you play Rice, really, but Creswell's probably going to be one. Would you keep Creswell in there, and who would you have as a third? Ginge as a third?
I would have Ginge. So, dump Cresswell. I'm having Rice in there, and it would be Ginge. If not, then funny enough, you said Chiate and Ginge for fitness tests. I'll probably play Chiate in there if Ginge wasn't fit. No more Cresswell experiment at centre-back for me for these last few games.
I would keep Creswell there because he can play the ball out from the back, and I think that's important in a game like this. And against Burnley, in the first half especially, he kept getting up that left side. He kept coming down, but Antonio refuses to allow someone to overlap him. Antonio just won't do it. He keeps running into that space himself. But with Masuaku, are you playing Masuaku left wing back?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, you're gonna. I think we need him really. We need that. Yeah. But with Masuaku and Creswell, I always think they link up quite well together. One can overlap and one sits, and they've both got a cross on them. It can be hit and miss, but for that, I would keep Creswell in there. And I would keep Ginge and I would keep Ogbonna. Right wing back, are you keeping Zabaleta?
Yeah.
I'm struggling with this one. I'm tempted to play Antonio for this one, because I think we need to attack them. It is simple as that. And with Zabaleta, bless him, I really like him. We just don't get that attacking instinct with him as right wing back. It's through no fault of him, and I would play Antonio there just so that we've got I know earlier you said Southampton are going to come out guns blazing. That's correct, but we need to be going out guns blazing, even just to get the fans on their feet and think, you know what, he's going for this.
I agree, but you're obviously going to play a central defensive midfielder, in which case, aren't you? So you're going to be attacking for there. I'm not, so I'll have someone a bit more defensive in at right wing back.
What's your midfield then?
Well, I'm going to go for Noble and Mario in the centre,
and the rest of your team,
Arnie and Lanzini as a 2 behind Antonio playing as a striker.
No Hernandez.
No, not today. Tomorrow. Saturday. Any day. No. I think he comes on the sub, and I think he may well score. I think he's, but not for this one. Not for this one. No.
I would start Hernandez and Arnautovic up front, and I would play Mario in behind them, not Lanzini. Even if Lanzini's half fit, I still would play him because I just think the Mario Hernandez partnership is better than people think. I just want to see that partnership. Them two, when Mario first come in, them two clicked like that. But if Hernandez ain't on the pitch, I probably wouldn't have Mario on the pitch. I'd only have him on if Hernandez is there. But, well, that's it, really. I mean, are you confident for this one, Gonzo? I mean, it's the biggest game of the season without a doubt, but are you confident?
Well, at the risk of repeating myself, I keep saying the same thing, which is we have to. I don't know whether that's confidence or desperation. No, I think it's very, very hard to be confident as a West Ham fan. It really is. Anyone that is supremely confident has not been following the team this season. It's hard to, because they let you down, West Ham. And every time you think there might be something nice on the horizon, it doesn't turn out. It just turns out to be a storm rather than anything else. So I hope, and we must win, but I'd be lying if I said I was confident.
How do we win? I know what team we'd like to see and stuff, but how do we get the goals? How do we get the 3 points against Southampton?
We score early. You said last night in a cup of tea that it was must win. You alluded to the fact that Burnley was a must not lose or a must draw or whatever the words you said. But before that game, Moyes had said that it was no longer a point, was no longer enough. He had to start going for 3. And we need to do that. I want to see more attacking like we saw in the first period at Burnley, but I also want to see a few more players in support of it. I want us to really go for it. There's one thing that we know as fact. Everybody accepts that Moyes is a defensive manager. If I take those red, everybody watching this accepts Moyes is a defensive manager. He likes to set up to be tight at the back. It's not worked. It doesn't work. It's failed. It's a defensive manager. What's the biggest fear of a defensive manager? That they'll let in 3 or 4 goals? Well, it's happening anyway. So with that in mind, just attack. The reason you don't go all that attack is because you can see 3 or 4 goals. Well, you know what you're doing. It's happening. So go and score some, and that would be it. I would really go for it, and I think that's how we win.
I have to agree. For a defensive manager, we've only got 1 clean sheet in 12 games. David Moyes is now statistically our worst manager we've ever had. That's it. He's the worst West Ham manager we've ever had statistically. I know you're sniggering in your cup of tea there, but it's true. It's stats. I like my stats. As you know, that's stats. Fact. He's the worst manager we've ever had.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm not laughing at your stats. I'm laughing at how ridiculous it is that we have appointed a manager who got relegated last season, and somehow, where's that come from? That's from left of field. He's turned out to be the worst manager we've ever had. Well, he's failed at his last few jobs. So, yeah.
He's got to, David Moyes, for me, this weekend, has to make a couple of ballsy decisions. His formation and team lineup over the last few games have been what he considers to be safe. There's no, oh, hello, he's trying something here. There's none of that. He's not been doing it, you know. I don't want to see fucking Patrice Evra in the team. I don't really want to see Chianti. I'd rather see Cullen in centre midfield than Chianti. Yeah. I've got a feeling we're going to see Chianti in no ball, default. It's just it's just default. He writes them down like that. He doesn't even think about it. He just does it. Do you know something? I'd rather even see Fernandez in there, who's played for the Swiss under 21s. It's probably too many games too soon for someone coming back from such a lengthy layoff. But I'd rather see Fernandez in there than Chianti. It's like you said, it's not been working. What he's been doing has not been working. So to do the same thing again, thinking because it's Southampton we're going to win, is just naive. It's stupid, and it's just asking for trouble in all sorts of ways. Whether it's protests in the stand, whether it's people getting pissed off with David Moyes, whether it's losing. lots of different angles you can see. It's just asking for trouble. He's got to get goal scorers on the pitch. He's got to. Fans react regardless of what happens. 2 p.m. on Saturday, fans will react and make an opinion, and that is, this is a good team. This is going to win. Or it's the opposite, which we've done a few times this season under both managers. We're going, come on. So you're going into the ground already negative. You're going in thinking, what's going on here? It's David Moyes has to get some bollocks this weekend, drop some of the bigger players, the bigger personalities, and put out a side that can score goals. Listen, if we're going to concede 3, make sure we score 4. It's as simple as that. Okay, yeah. None of this 1-0. Do not play for 1-0. It doesn't work. We've got 1 clean sheet in 12. The one thing I will say that's given me a little bit of confidence, funny enough, it's got nothing to do with West Ham, the international form of our players, mainly Arnautovic scoring 3. That's where you want to see. His last goal, his third goal, was a guy with such confidence in. He had bollocks to do that. The way he scored the goal as well, it was just a guy just oozes everything that you need in a striker. And Saturday could be the day of Arnautovic, who's up against his former manager. And last time Mark Hughes came across him, we beat him 3-0 at Britannia. Arnautovic was man of match, ran riot, and then Hughes basically told Arnautovic to F off as he went down the tunnel. Perfect. If anything, West Ham could actually have the perfect Southampton manager on Saturday if we use it right. But this is the problem. I'm not sure we will. Masuaku, how big a game is it to have Masuaku back for? I know, let's forget about what he's done. He's done his punishment, right? Let's think about the football player in Masuaku. We've missed him.
Okay, yes, we have in terms of carrying the ball, but he's got lots to prove. He needs to provide and produce some end products. He carries the ball well down the pitch, which gives a little bit of rest to the defenders, because when he's carrying it, the ball's not coming straight back at them, which is quite important. It's like a fundamental skill with West Ham, because we don't have much possession. But when we have 20-30% possession, which is a lot, it means the opposition have sort of 70% possession. Defenders are seeing the ball coming back to them a lot. And somebody that can carry the ball up the pitch is good. And if you've got him on the pitch and you've got Antonio on the pitch, I don't think we've seen the two of them in tandem very often this season. I think that'd be a good thing. But what I want to see from Masuaku is I would like to see an end product. I'd like to see a killer pass or something like that. Don't take it up the pitch and lose possession or it fizzle out into nothing. Go up there and then give the ball to Arnie, or give it to Antonio or Lente or whoever's up there.
Almost score prediction time. Before we give you ours, you give us yours at home in the comments below on YouTube. Let us know what lineup you would like to see West Ham put out. If you're feeling confident, if you think one of these two teams are going down, maybe both, if you think Stoke are going to stay up, and let us know your score prediction. Betway, our charity bet with Betway, is 25-1 this weekend. Big price. It's Arnautovic to score a goal anytime. A penalty to be awarded for either team. Doesn't have to be scored. It can be missed. And both sides to get 2 cards or more. Taste State Affair. John Moss is referee. It's happening. It's 25-1. 50 quid on. So £1,300 to charity if it wins. Gonzo. Prediction time.
Yeah, I thought you might ask that. This is the hardest one I've had to do because I'm not confident. And unfortunately, this is a lucky dip. I'm just going to pluck a score out of the hat. Don't back it. That's all. I'm going to go. I'm going to go with a squeaky bum 2-1 West Ham.
That's not out of the hat. There's a logic behind that. I'm going to go. I'm agreeing with you, though. I'm going 2-1 as well. I just think the difference between us and Southampton is we have goals in us. I'm not so sure Southampton have goals. We can find the net. The problem is we're conceding them so much. But that is Southampton's weak point, finding the net. Saying that, I would have probably said the same about Burnley, and they knocked 3 past us. Also, if you haven't already, check out mine and Gonzo's latest cup of tea, which we had last night on Wednesday. It's also on iTunes, so if you can't be bothered listening to it on YouTube for an hour, the link to iTunes is in the description below. And also check out the video, which will be on your screen right now, by Canning Town Lane, which is David Gold, the musical. Very good watch. It's 20 minutes long, but it's different. You've not seen anything like this before on YouTube or on West Ham. But Gonzo, thank you as always. I shall see you on Saturday on the boats.
Looking forward to it.
And thank you for joining us. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new around here. Leave your comments below, and we will see you on Saturday after the game for our match review.